Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:06, chugging along here on this Tuesday morning. Thanks so much for being part of our little morning extravaganza, and thanks for letting us into your car or your kitchen or your bedroom. I mean, there are people listening in bed right now.
Oh, I know.
Roll over, by the way. Your feet are cold. Coming up later in this program, Meredith had the coldest feet last night for some reason. I'm sorry. This is just like stuck in my head.
My feet are often cold.
Don't feel sorry for her. It's me because she like puts them on me to warm them up. And it's like, why would you do that to me?
You're a space heater.
No, it has the opposite effect.
That's why we get married.
That's why. Explains everything. Coming up at 7:05, John Myers running for Congress in Virginia. 7:35, the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. At 8:05, James Swanson. He's the author of this book, Manhunt, that they've now turned into a TV series, miniseries over on Apple TV. It's about the hunt for John Wilkes Booth post-assassination. At 8:35, Mark Morgan, former Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection. Talk about the border, and we will talk about the border plenty, but I do want to focus. Yesterday, we talked quite a bit about the fact that it was the 6-month anniversary or acknowledgement of the terror attacks in Gaza and in Israel from Gaza, and of course the ensuing military effort to eliminate Hamas, which has been quite successful but not done yet. Biden, of course, trying to pull the rug from under Benjamin Netanyahu and our most important ally in that region, our only ally that we can count on all the time in that region, Israel. And, of course, all the speculation is, well, it's because of Michigan. It's because he wants to win the state of Michigan. If he loses, and you know, the Dearborn, Michigan, Rashida Tlaib, Middle Eastern voting Americans who apparently have more allegiance to Hamas than they do to our country and our foreign policy, they'll not show up. And I have a sinking suspicion, knowing Michigan politics a little bit, that this isn't just about the maybe 80,000, 90,000 Palestinian Americans or Arab Americans in the Dearborn, Michigan suburbs that don't show up, but they also won't show up to help in their get out the vote efforts.
That's right.
And in the polling places. See, because these are volunteers that show up when it's time to count ballots, and you need good people on your side in that position to get things done. So it's not just about their votes. It's about the counting of the votes.
Yep.
And, well, we got to have their allegiance. So, listen, that's politics, and Joe Biden is nothing if not a political animal. He'll do whatever he can and whatever he needs to do and say whatever he needs to say to advance his pathetic, lamentable political career, mostly so he can pardon the rest of the members of his family from their crimes.
Yep.
But there is a activist in Dearborn, Michigan, who was caught on video. He was proud to say what he was saying.
Right,
they actually published the video out there. I want you to have a listen to this man. His name is Tariq Bazi. This is the vote that Joe Biden's trying to secure. This guy speaks for those voters and activists that Joe Biden doesn't want to offend.
And I just want to reiterate, it's so good to mention this. This is not a Project Veritas hidden camera video. Oh. I mean, this guy is at a podium.
In the public square?
In the public square, speaking, knows that the video cameras,
Yep.
No shame, none.
We've been asked in the past, why are our protests on the International Day of Quds, why are they so anti-America? Why don't we just focus more on Israel and not talk so much about America? Gaza has shown the entire world why these protests are so anti-America. Because it's the United States government that provides the funds for all of the atrocities that we just heard about. And this is why Imam Khomeini, who declared the International Day of Quds, this is why he would say to pour all of your chants and all of your shouts upon the head of America. Malcolm X said, and I quote, "We live in one of the rottenest countries that has ever existed on this earth. It's not Genocide Joe that has to go. It's the entire system that has to go. Any system that would allow such atrocities and such devilry to happen and would support it, such a system does not deserve to exist on God's earth." And so when these fools ask us if Israel has the right to exist, the chant "Death to Israel" has become the most logical chant shouted across the world today.
These are delightful individuals. These are the voters that Joe Biden is trying to appeal to. By the way, the first chant you heard was "Death to America." Then they finished with "Death to Israel," and you heard him refer to Imam Khomeini. That, of course, is the Ayatollah of Iran. So make no mistake, this isn't just about the Palestinian people and their plight, and it's really just about Palestine. No. This is also about Iran. This is who are funding all of the terror attacks over there. The "Death to America" is sort of a common theme.
Oh, I didn't know if we had more.
Oh, we do, but
okay,
you wanted to.
going.
Oh, all right.
Israel before this, brothers and sisters, was a sacred.
This is a second speaker here, by the way. This is Imam Usama Abdul Ghani, but he's an imam. That's a man of the cloth, like a pastor, a preacher, a priest, a rabbi. Just so you can put that in perspective.
Israel before this, brothers and sisters, was a sacred cow. Nobody could criticize Israel. Everybody was terrified of being anti-Semitic. Everybody was afraid of them.
Not everybody.
But now, the people of conscience very openly will criticize Israel. They recognize Israel for what it is. Israel is ISIS. They are Nazis. They are fascists. They are racist. The people of the world now know this.
Isn't it amazing? And when he says before this, what is this that he's talking about? October 7th. Mm-hmm. See, our attack on over 1,000 innocents attending a peaceful music festival where they were slaughtered and raped and kept captive and continue to be sexually assaulted, that has been a successful endeavor.
Yeah.
To advance our cause. And, well, I mean, listen, who's to argue with them? Because Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Antony Blinken and Jake Sullivan are basically doing that guy's bidding now.
That's right. I have one question, Larry.
Yeah.
Where's the FBI? When you have someone standing in a public square saying "Death to America," where's the FBI? I mean, I know they're busy putting grandmas who stood in the Capitol and prayed in jail. I know they're real busy with that, and
there's still a manhunt
and hunting down people who stood on the lawn of the Capitol on January 6th. But where are they in and around Detroit?
It's a good question. We used to do a thing around here called "If you see something, say something." Hey, FBI, we just saw something.
Yeah.
We're saying something.
The first speaker, Tarek Barazi, he's accused of stealing gift cards in some $3.5 million fraud scheme. Allegedly stole these cards, gave them out to family.
Well, the local Soros-funded DA has let him out.
Allegedly. And he owns 7 gas stations.
Wow.
Kind of, seems like the country might have been good to him, right? All this.
Last night, Greg Gutfeld on the 5 actually, kind of nailed it, I think, about this.
Yeah.
And I get the impression, with the "Death to America" stuff, that we are on a slow roll toward our own little Gazas, these little islands of unrest in the country. These were places that were sacrificed to leftisms, where laws were discarded, identity and division became the currency. Look at Minneapolis since George Floyd. It's never been the same. Right. There are all these enclaves. We were supposed to be a melting pot, but that requires melting. And instead, what we're seeing in these areas is a hardening. It's a hardening. And we're always accused of xenophobia if we exalt our country's awesomeness or make fun of another country's customs. Fair enough. I get it. But it's a two-way street. If you come here and you reject assimilation, free speech, cooperation with people different than you, those are our values. And if you reject them, you are xenophobic and you are anti-American. It's not illegal, I guess, but why are we respecting it and why are we encouraging it? Leftism encourages this sort of behavior. It is time for the adults to enter the room and basically change the conversation, or these cities are gone.
Yeah, and again, I just want to remind you, everybody who he just described, in terms of these little mini Gazas where law is turned upside down and American values are discarded, and where they're all being empowered, ennobled, and platformed and raised up as the beacons of one political party. It's Democrats. They're all Democrats. And Seth Mandel of Commentary, actually, he's with Commentary now. He pointed out something. It's like these speeches that we just played for you, and calling Jews Nazis and and calling them ISIS and saying death to America and death to Israel and all that. Charlottesville was bad. I didn't like Charlottesville. I didn't align myself with the people who were marching in Charlottesville. I didn't hear anything like that in Charlottesville. Remember how Charlottesville was like the end of our country?
That's why Biden ran.
Yeah, Biden says he ran because of Charlottesville.
And then he's tolerant of this.
Yeah.
And let me tell you.
This is happening like every other day.
Yeah, Tim Kaine, his event was ruined in Alexandria, Virginia, because these anti-Israel, pro-Hamas protesters attacked him.
Yeah.
They're,
No, listen, and I say it all the time. It's very clear what's going on in this country. It's very clear, and we continue to show it to you. We continue to comment on it. So far, we're still able to discuss it publicly and analyze it. We all know where we're headed with this election, and we just all need to stick together. We got our secret handshakes. We got our little wink in our eyes when we see each other. We keep our heads down. They're going to throw everything at us, literally, over the next 7 months. We just got to be able to be there and show up and bring friends. It's 6:17. Let's get to Jamie Whitman at the Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
I just got an update from my deputy mayor, and crime is down in all categories in Washington, D.C.
Crime is down. We keep hearing it. Pete Buttigieg bragged about how he could walk his little Shih Tzu to the Capitol. I don't know for sure that he has a Shih Tzu. I'm just guessing that that's the dog Pete Buttigieg would have.
But the simple facts and the simple reality are right here staring us in the face, including the fact that I can safely walk my dog to the Capitol today in a way that you couldn't do when we all got here.
Here's what's interesting about that. And they were all citing, by the way, Mayor Bowser says that she got it from her deputy mayor, but she's actually talking about FBI statistics, FBI crime statistics. You hear this all the time from the Democrats. If you look at the FBI statistics, funny thing about the FBI statistics, and I remember we mentioned this like 2 years ago. The FBI has a new crime statistics database that interfaces with cities all around the country. But if your city doesn't interface properly electronically and digitally with it, then your city's crime data isn't uploaded to the system. Or if your city didn't upgrade to the new system, or if your city is like, yeah, you know what, we got enough we're dealing with. We don't need to, send the FBI our crime statistics. It's voluntary. It's not the law. A city doesn't have to send their crime statistics to the FBI. So if the FBI doesn't get your city's crime statistics, you know what they do? They guess.
That's right.
They put together an estimate. And amazingly, the estimate in these major cities run by Democrats and who have George Soros funded Democrat district attorneys, the estimates from the FBI are always way lower than the actual on-the-ground numbers. In fact, in some cases, like 20% lower or more.
Yeah, actually, according to, I'm looking this up now, 30% of law enforcement agencies are not submitting crime data to the FBI. 30%, that is significant. And you can guess where they're not submitting it, in urban areas and Democrat-run cities. So it's very easy to say crime is down.
Yep.
And also, let's not forget, tons of crimes. 50% of violent crimes are not reported. Crimes on property are not reported. Like 70% of crimes on property are not reported. So, and then they don't get prosecuted, so they don't even get arrested.
Even if they are reported, they aren't
prosecuted. So, yeah, it's really easy to essentially cook the numbers.
Oh, yeah. If you all those viral videos you see of people storming into convenience stores and taking everything, or the people who go to the CVS's and just put everything into the hefty bags, they don't report those crimes.
There's this new trend to punch a woman in the face.
Yeah.
And these women do a TikTok video. They don't report it to police, but
That's
they do
right.
a TikTok video.
Well, and mostly because the police are like, I can take a report, but we're not going to be able to do anything about it. In California, it's a misdemeanor if you steal anything under $1,000.
And also in the police's defense, they're like, I could arrest the guy, but he's never going to be prosecuted. Not going to be charged.
So, hey, crime's down.
Yes.
No, it's not. In fact, Washington Examiner did a great analysis of this and showed and went to, because individual cities sometimes they got their numbers, they know how many people they arrest, and they make that public. They just don't share it with the FBI. So I think it was in Milwaukee where crime has actually been up something like, and I'm going off the top of my head, but I'm close, I promise. Crime's up like 12% or 13% for, let's say shoplifting or what have you. The FBI will show the exact same city, the exact same year, down 8%.
Right.
It's amazing because they're going to guesstimate. The FBI is going to, and then, of course, it gets repeated everywhere. And it becomes fact, even though, of course, it's not fact. It's a lie, but, there's...
Well, then you have Jen Psaki making fun of people for being upset
in Virginia over their
and
border
she'll have
problems.
some sort of data to back it up.
Speaking of that, and speaking of the border issues, and speaking of crime, and also how the FBI is sort of part of cooking the books here, Mark Morgan joins us at 8:35. Not only is he the former acting commissioner of the Border Protection, but he is also a former assistant FBI director. He's got a brand new he's a co-author of this new report about how the FBI is deliberately underreporting crime so it can be a talking point for the media and for Democrats. Because it's an election year, everybody. It's 6:23.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Hi there, 6:37. Thanks for tuning in here this morning. We are loaded for bear. Coming up at 7:05, John Myers, who's running for Congress in Virginia 7:35, the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, on the new amendments for the budget he's just put forth. 8:05, James Swanson, author of Manhunt, about the effort to get John Wilkes Booth after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Pretty, actually, as we're watching this series, they've serialized it for Apple TV. Considering the lack of technology,
I know.
It's actually incredible that they found him so quickly, right? It's a great story.
It really is.
And then at 8:35, Mark Morgan, former assistant FBI director and former acting commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. All right. Let's get you up to date on transgender issues here. Apparently, the Pope is Catholic. Actually, I shouldn't be. I should be a little more charitable and generous here to the pontiff, to the.
Let's for once.
Yes.
This is a good story.
The Vicar of Christ, actually, and he has been, despite what you hear, what he says about other things that are confusing and head scratchers. He's been pretty clear on statements, doctrine, teachings about gender issues and about abortion issues. By the way, now people will point. They say, "Well, didn't he host a mass in an audience with a bunch of drag queens and stuff?" And he said, well, yeah, but that's not doctrine. That's not church teaching. I know it appears weird, but at the same time, that's in keeping.
I actually will tell you that I researched that a bit, and having that circus do a show has been around for decades.
I think that's different. No, I know what you're talking about with the very
that...
weird. No, but he actually did there was a little meet and greet.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Which, again, may send signals that he's approving of this, but actually I think it's sort of like, you got to accept sinners into your room if you're going to convert them, And so, listen, I think all Christians have to walk a very fine line of holding to our values, our principles, our doctrines, and at the same time reaching out to those who are not yet in harmony with us and try to let them know, listen, we're not going to, we're not here to judge you and we're not here to condemn you. We're here to save you. And it's, well, I mean, that's how you get the message out, because otherwise, here's the problem. Too many people think that Christians stand in front of funerals with signs that say God hates F words, right? Yes. Which we don't. We are charitable. We are loving. We do want to help people, yet at the same time, we know that they're living sinfully. Anyway. So I think that's why. What? I mean, if you disagree,
I agree.
But your eyes are going to break in the socket by rolling.
My facial expressions. Just move on. All right, let's talk. But what's the good thing the Pope said this week? Hey,
this Pope is a Marxist. There we go. November 2023. Pope Francis holds Vatican luncheon with transgender women. See?
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, invited him in, and then who knows what he said during grace. He said, "Listen, we're not going to get all religious here. It's only the Vatican. I'm just going to say grace." And he says, "So bless this food, and please bless these people and turn them from their sin, because they're all going to hell because they dress up like women."
No, right.
He may have said that.
Okay.
All right. We don't know. Pope Francis has condemned gender theory. He has condemned transgender sex change. There's a new document called Dignitas Infinita, infinite dignity, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
And also in there, he condemned the practice of surrogacy. Now, the church, the Catholic Church, has been in the forefront of being opposed to IVF of all sorts because, first of all, it's against natural law, number one, but also the only way to properly execute IVF at this point is to take a human life and freeze it and eventually oftentimes dispose of it.
Yes.
But specifically about surrogacy, this is basically it's treating a child as a commodity, and it also leads. It's the women who generally do surrogacy and rent their wombs out for 9 months so that she can produce a child for people who can't have it or choose not to have a child naturally. They tend to be poor. They tend to be exploited. There's a whole lot of reasons why surrogacy is in the church's eye and in many people's moral eyes a bad thing.
Yeah.
So this is a very clear statement that the Pope has put out. There is no ambiguity here. And again, when everybody says, well, Catholics are all up in the air because they do this and they do this, just look at what the documents say. The teaching. Yes, human beings don't always follow the teaching. That's
right.
I mean, nobody's, that's so anyway, this is a big deal, I think.
It is, and I think it, especially in light of the Vatican luncheon, and on that you were kind of saying my eyes were going to pop out of my my head. That is, it's one thing to be kind and pray for people who are living in a sinful way or who suffer from gender dysphoria.
Yes,
it's another thing to host a luncheon. At the Vatican, which
because it gives the appearance of approval.
It not only signals approval, it signals normalization, that this is perfectly normal, so normal, in fact, that you should come in and have lunch with the Pope. So
right.
that's more what I'm concerned about.
I understand
and I think
that.
there is a bit of schizophrenia on the part of the Vatican here, then issuing this very firm ruling that they disapprove of IVF and gender sex changes and transgenderism and all of that.
No, I agree with you. One of the jobs of the Pope and of the Catholic magisterium is to be teachers. It's called the teaching magisterium. They're supposed to teach, and you teach not just through your words and your paperwork, but through your actions as well. And one of the most important things about teaching is to be clear. To be clear, don't be ambiguous, be specific, especially when you're teaching moral truths that could lead people to salvation or damnation. If that's what you're teaching, then don't be ambiguous. Be very clear. It might not always, that might hurt people's feelings now and again, but teachers shouldn't have to worry about that ultimately. So, no, I do get what you're saying, and I do get that criticism. This document, 100%, should be, and it specifically condemns transgender, the gender affirmation procedures, as they call it, gender surgeries, do chemical drugs and all that stuff. Also yesterday, more good news. College athletics, the group, the NAIA, the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, which is basically for smaller colleges to govern club teams and various other sports, they have banned transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. It's specific to men competing in women's sports. We don't see it going in the other way anyway, because there's no physical advantage in the other direction.
And the president of the organization, Jim Carr, I love his statement. He said, "We are unwavering in our support of fair competition for our student athletes." And that's ultimately what this is about, fairness. Nobody is Riley Gaines does not hate transgender people. Riley Gaines does not hate men identifying as women. It's about fairness and biology, basic biology.
Biological sex will be the determining factor on who competes in which sport. Good on the NAIA, and now the ball is in the NCAA's court. This will put pressure on them to do the same. Governor Youngkin has now sent amended versions of the budget to the House, and we'll see what they do with it. But here's some of the actions that he took on this budget. $64 billion common ground budget. They're calling it the common ground budget. He's trying to reach common ground with the Democrats. Julie, how do you think that's going to work out for him? He's always trying to find common ground. It eliminates the proposed tax increases, invests a record $21.3 billion in K-12 education, caps tuition increases at 3%, includes 3% pay raises for teachers and state employees, and increases investment in health and human resources by $3.2 billion. There's a whole lot of spending in that budget there.
Yep.
242 amendments to the budget offered by the governor preserve the vast majority of spending priorities as passed by the General Assembly. Increased funding for Metro, toll relief in Hampton Roads, affordable access in higher education, and the Housing Trust Fund. Now, the budget passed by the General Assembly eliminated $850 million of the governor's priority spending items in the introduced budget. This budget restores $230 million of them. So basically, the Democrats said no to $850 million that the governor wanted to spend, and he's now putting back $230 million of those. So, I mean, does seem if you listen, you're the Republican governor, you've got a Democrat-controlled legislature, you got to figure out how to compromise. Otherwise, you don't have a budget. That's what happens at the state level. They can't go into government shutdown mode. They can't borrow money and print their own money. So they got to figure something out. So this seems like what he's trying to do is a compromise
It's
here.
not an easy group of Democrats to deal with, though.
No.
They love stunts. They sent him something like 30 gun bills
Right.
last month. So not an easy group to negotiate with.
Because they're not interested. They aren't interested in common
No, they
ground.
truly
They're willing
aren't.
to kill an arena that was being built that was promoted by Democrats in Alexandria and Northern Virginia and in the House. So here's some of the things here. The governor proposed $1 billion in tax relief with his budget. The General Assembly included tax increases that would cost $2.6 billion. So the governor wanted $1 billion in tax cuts. Democrats wanted $2.6 billion in tax increases. We should be able to, reach some common ground on all of that there and get rid of all of the taxing. But it is clear, where the Democrats are versus Governor Youngkin.
I have to say I'm disappointed. More raises for teachers, more money in education. It's
If that money goes to more choice opportunities for
But
Virginians,
Virginia is embarrassingly
Way
bad
behind the
about
curve.
school choice. I
Yep.
don't think that this money is intended for some new school choice initiatives, sadly.
Yeah, Virginia's revenues continue to rise, though, either way. Annual tax collections rose 45% in the last 5 years, so why we need to figure out ways to raise taxes even more. Most people's income hasn't raised that much over the last 5 years.
And prices are through the roof.
Right.
So
let us keep our money. And by the way, Governor Youngkin is going to be joining us at 7:30 to highlight what he thinks are the most important parts of this, and we will ask him some questions about some things that we might be concerned about. That's coming up at 7:30.